Zoha Deldar, accompagnée de Sandra.
Imagine this, an intervention that can reduce your pain by almost 30% with no side effect. Sounds pretty amazing, right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today.
I'm here to take Zoha's research out of the lab and show how it can look in real life. Painting, exercise, time spent in nature, these things all reduce my perception of pain. The pain is still there, but it's pushed to the background. And this happens by finding my flow. And Zoha will talk about flow theory. But first, how did I end up with chronic pain? Well, decades ago, I was an officer in the Air Force Reserve, and I taught first aid courses. So I knew that one night when I slipped on ice, leaving the gym, 2016, that I had broken my arm. It was fairly obvious. Being a former military person, my first thought was, what's the fastest way to get to the hospital? And it wasn't to wait for someone to come get me and drive me there. It was to drive myself home, despite the fracture. So that's what I did. And on the way, I stopped at Tim Hortons, got a coffee for my husband, because it was late at night, and I thought, oh, I want him to be alert and awake with me, and he'll be driving. So I went and got him a coffee. Despite the pain, right? The fracture was a simple fracture, started healing well, but within 10 days, symptoms of CRPS began. CRPS, that's complex regional pain syndrome, very painful condition. It took me 3 months to get a diagnosis, and in that time, CRPS spread from my fingertips to above my wrist, impacting my joints and the fingers and the wrist, and so much more. And the pain of CRPS, well, that's 3 times more than that fracture pain, but it's all the time. So how can Zoha's research into flow theory help with this kind of pain?
Imagine your brain as a busy city with thoughts, feeling, and pain all rushing around like cars on the street. Pain is like an ambulance. It always gets to go first because it means danger. But here is the thing, there is hope. When you are fully immersed in something that you love, like painting, playing game, you enter in a zone that we call flow state. When you are in flow, it's like you're driving a super fast car that takes over the street and push your pain behind. Your pain is still there, but you can push it behind. This shows us that when you're in pain, there is always a way, and you can always find a way to take the wheel and keep moving forward.
People often ask me at art events or when I'm out painting in a nature park off the back of my bicycle, why do you paint? And they're almost always surprised by the reply that I paint because of pain. After reading research that showed that there could be a beneficial effect of art or other activities about which a person is passionate on chronic pain and on cognitive issues, I decided to learn to paint in 2021. And you may think that I already knew how to draw and I knew a lot about art, but at that point, I couldn't even draw a stick figure. But by finding my flow, I managed to help reduce my perception of pain through painting. Now, how does that work? Zoha's going to talk about that a little bit more. But we found out in her research that flow isn't about art. It can be about anything that a person feels passionate for. And she's been involved in research that shows the same kind of pain reduction effects with music, with playing chess, with doing anything that a person feels passionate about to lose themselves or immerse themselves in it.
Is this experience unique to Sandra, or can it apply to everyone? we decided to study this. In one of our studies, we invited expert and novice chess players to our lab. We asked them to play chess with a different level of difficulties while receiving hit pain. We compared their pain during this with 2 other conditions. One, where they memorize and recall letters. Another, where they simply experience pain. What we found was amazing. We found that expert chess players, when they play chess that matched their skills, their pain reduced by almost 30% compared to their baseline pain and compared to the novice players. We are now expanding this research to the MRI to understand how flow and passion can change brain activity during pain.
When I was first talking to Zoha about the overarching goals of her research and flow research, we talked about what was important to her. And you might remember that the title slide of our study was about solving the pain puzzle and how do we get from flow to hope. Well, in the military and in healthcare and in research, like these kinds of groups, we can create acronyms for everything. So we created one for flow theory. And it's to feel less overwhelmed with whatever your pain is. So for patients like me, we can start to feel less of pain's effect. And how do we get from there to hope? Well, hope is because flow theory helps to obscure pain's effect. And this is, combining the two, how we solve the pain puzzle, getting from flow to hope.
When Sandra painted, she wasn't just creating art. Her brain was shifting gears. A study showed that during flow, brain areas related to passion, pleasure, and reward and focus light up. It's as if our brain redirects its energy to process something much more enjoyable and engaging. The exciting part is you don't have to be an artist to experience that. Flow can happen during any activity that you find it both challenging and enjoyable. When you leave here today, what will you do to reduce your pain by 30%? Or how will you help your patient to do this? Thank you.